Hello everyone, I hope you're having a great, brilliant day. So today's going to be a fall book recommendations video. I had difficulty with these, to be honest. What determines a fall book? Is it a vibe? Is it the cover? Is it whatever you're interested in when it's fall? I think for me, fall books are like books that have a focus on nature, books who take place like long in the past, not only historical fiction like with the last 100 years, but many hundred years ago, maybe even 1,000 years ago. That kind of thing I realize is like what I consider historical fiction. No, what I consider fall books. There's certain type of fantasy, steampunk fantasy I associate with the fall, just general epic fantasy. So I won't mention any epic fantasy favorites, but I do have a list for that if you are interested. But I'm gonna just get us started. The first book I recommend is Pax by Sarah Pennypacker. This is basically about a boy called Peter, and he rescued this little cub fox when he was young. That's Pax. And something happens during the World War that's going on that basically makes them have to separate, and it's about them trying to find their way back to each other, the fox and this little boy. It is very nature focused because Peter ends up kind of abandoning his family and going through the woods, and it's very harsh. It definitely has some like darker topics throughout the book, but it is a children's book or like a middle grade book, so those topics aren't scarring, but they're definitely like an underlying tone and vibe. And this cover like is giving just me so many fall vibes. I think this is a fall book and it's so cute. Does it have illustrations? I feel like it does. Yes, it has some like light illustrations that kind of look like the cover. Oh, I saw something. It has a few very atmospheric illustrations, and atmosphere and atmospheric stuff, turbulence, that kind of thing is also something I associate with fall. Change, nature, brown. Okay, let's move on. Oh, I don't have a table next to me. The books are just gonna be on the floor. The next book I have to recommend is Gideon the Ninth by Tamsin Muir. I still haven't read the second book that has recently come out called Harrow the Ninth, but I will be reading it soon. I love this. This is a science fiction fantasy about Gideon, who basically is kick-ass. She lives with these necromancers in this like house, and there's like different houses, like different families, and they have different powers, and the princess, no, the leader of the family that she sort of serves is summoned to this Victorian palace in space. And basically our main character Gideon goes with her, and it takes place in a Victorian house, and it's almost like a mystery, and it's very atmospheric, and it definitely has like those vibes, you know? I highly recommend. It has necromancy, but it's not scary. It has awesome magic. Our main character is gay, I believe, so there's like a little bit of queer representation in here. I really liked it. I can't wait for the next one. It's awesome. I also want to mention that I don't read a lot of horror and thriller and that kind of thing, so that's not going to be on this list, but I will be making a Halloween book recommendations for scaredy cats like me. Alright, next I'm gonna mention an author that I just think like, I've only read 2 of her books, but I know in sort of that her books do have sort of fall-y vibe. The 2 that I'm going to recommend is A Skin Full of Shadows by Frances Hardinge and The Light Tree. This one that I have is illustrated by Chris Riddell, which is awesome. This is the first book I read by her, and this book cover just has like fall vibes, I have to admit. This one is, oh, it was a long time ago I read. They're both middle grade. They're both historical fiction. They follow young female strong characters. They both have a bit of magic. This one has a big element of like weather, and there's cliff sides and there's turbulent water, and the main character has to go through like storms and stuff. This one does take place a lot in nature, and there's a animal communication magic system in this one. And this one, her father is a discoverer in this one, and our main character is super intelligent, but she's kind of like disregarded, and it's really frustrating because she's a girl and all that. So if you're interested in middle grade and you want some fall books with like kick-ass female characters, I highly recommend these books. I don't like middle grade, but I love these. So Then we have a book that I think you all know was coming, and that's Frankenstein by Mary Shelley. This is my favorite classic. I talk about it a lot. This Frankenstein is basically about our main dude, Frankenstein, who wants to become a professor, and a professor is a scientist, and he goes to study, but the books that he's been studying before he actually goes to school are very problematic and dark and old science, and he gets this idea, obsession in his head that he's going to create this creature, and when he does, he's horrified by it and flees, and the creature is abandoned, and stuff happens. This book takes place a lot in nature. It starts with a setting of this ship that is in the North Pole, and it's like super cold and all that. It's like a story within a story. I love this book so much. It is super atmospheric. The writing is absolutely beautiful. It does have like a horror element because of Frankenstein, but it is just so deep. And I also have, I don't know if I have it here, there are a few, like this one is a Mary Shelley biography, but it also has like total fall vibes. There's many Mary Shelley related graphic novels. There is also Frankenstein graphic novels that I recommend. It will give you the fall vibes you need. The next book is one that I don't really talk about a lot, but it made a huge impact on me because it was one of like the first historical fiction fantasy that I ever read, and it was a genre that was new to me, and I literally just bought it because of the cover, and that is The Plague Charmer by Karen Maitland. This takes place in 1361, and the second plague, the second great pestilence plague strikes England, and it takes place in a small town, and you follow this character Sarah, who basically encounters this stranger who says that we can cure the plague, but it comes at like a great cost. She doesn't take the deal. The disease starts to spread even more and more, and she starts to reconsider whether she should take this deal or not. I don't want to like talk about any more with it. It is a slower read, but it's just so awesome. Like, I love this book so much, and I have another book by Karen Maitland that I still haven't read, and I'm really looking forward to reading. This one has like major atmospheric vibes. Like, it takes place by the seashore in a small English town. It has like cottage vibes. It has like weird atmosphere within a small town type of vibes. I highly recommend this. It has a lot of like harsh weather, nature stuff as well. Fall vibes. Yes. Next we have a YA fantasy, and that's The Alchemist of Loom by Elise Kova. I love this series a lot. It's one of my favorite YA fantasy series. It is a steampunk, and I think steampunk is total fall times to read. It might be the only steampunk fantasy I've ever read, but this basically follows, oh my god, I'm not prepared. Right. Okay, it follows our main character Ari, and she is a chimera. So when you take like parts of these creatures or animals races called dragons, and you put them within you, you get like the magical power associated with that organ. And different dragons have different organs with different powers. So Ari, she has like different dragon organs within her, and she has an assistant that's so cute. I love that character, and she does all like the mechanical stuff, like the bombs and all that. They're kind of like rebels, and it's about their alliance and the war, the discourse between the dragons and the people of Loom. I highly recommend the series. It's a lot of fun. It's challenging, I think, a lot of stereotypes. There's some queer representation. I really like the series a lot. Okay, then I'm gonna recommend a graphic novel. There's actually 2 volumes. This is Vey. It is Swedish, but you can find them in English as well. They are fantasy inspired by Norse mythology. It has a lot of like nature scenery. There's these giants. I'll show you one picture in particular that I'm just really in love with, and I think represents this book very well. Like, I mean, just see like, there's like these sorts of spreads, you know? And like cozy vibes by the fire. That's not what I was looking for. This picture, it's my favorite. Isn't that just beautiful? I love it. So I haven't read the second one. I don't know why, but maybe I'll read it this fall. Love them. Nature's a big element. There is also a character inspired by Violet Chachki, so like, why wouldn't you want to read it? those are all like the fall book recommendations of books that I really love that I'm gonna include on this list. But I wanted to include some books that I think have major fall vibes, but that I gave like 3 stars. So I don't want to like outright recommend them, but maybe they are your type of books. So let's talk about those. The first one is The Buried Giant by Kazuo Ishiguro. This book is special. It's a really cool piece of literary fiction and it made me think a lot. It was a great book club pick. So it basically takes place in Britain between the Romans is conquering it and the Britons come or has power. So it's kind of like that empty period of time where there isn't so much information about Britain, and you're following this old couple that basically doesn't remember much about their son, but they're going out trying to look for him is what I believe. And there's like dragons, there's knights, there's a lot of those old fantasy elements dropped in there like along their journey, and so they have to like wade through different terrains of nature and different obstacles, and there's a lot of inspiration from old fairy tales. I didn't dislike this book, so if you're into literary fiction, historical fiction, or Kazuo Ishiguro, I do recommend this. Then we have The Wheel of Time, okay? Maybe you've heard me talk about this before, but I have a lot of mixed feelings about The Wheel of Time. But the first book, The Eye of the World, has major fall atmospheric stuff. It takes place in this little town. It starts off chosen one trope. You follow our main character. I can't believe it's been so long. I don't remember the name of the main character. Ran. He basically goes on a journey, and at the end of the book there is a character that is like the element of nature, and there's part of the world where the nature is deteriorating, and I feel like that is very fall-y. It also has journey stuff, nature stuff, there's wolves here and there, a pack of wolves, if that sounds like something you would like. Then I wanted to mention this book. This is Wilder Girls. I think it's like a questionable one, like why would you put this on here? I also want to mention that the Instagram channel Jess Has Books, Instagrammer, Bookstagrammer Jess Has Books. I saw it through their Instagram, but I believe there's a bunch of bookstagrammers who have basically created a new book club called The Rainbow Reads or something like that. I'll link their Instagram down below, where they're going to read queer literature, and this is their first book club pick, so I just wanted to remind you guys of that too. I think it has fall vibes. It takes place on a little island. There's some scary body horror stuff going on. There's a queer romance. I wasn't like a huge fan of it, but I think a lot of people could like it, and it was a bit different, so check it out this fall. Then we have The Shadow of the Wind, which historical fiction, book lovers might like it. There's a bit of mystery, family drama, uncovering stuff that wasn't revealed before. I think it has major fall vibes. It takes place in Italy, Spain, in 1945. So then we have Lincoln in the Bardo by George Saunders. This is basically ghost story of Lincoln, who basically his son dies very young of a plague, the disease. I don't remember which one it was that happened in 1862. So it follows basically Lincoln as he grieves a lot, and he spends a lot of time in the cemetery, and you're following his son as he is interacting with the ghosts in the cemetery. It is written like a script. I've heard that the audiobook is full cast, so if you're interested in checking that out, I recommend this if it sounds like something for... Oh my god, he just did the cutest flop. Charm is just being so cute. Okay, sidetracking. The last book I want to recommend as like a fall book is, or talk about, The Near Witch by V.A. Schwab. This is her first book, and you can tell, I think it's a middle grade that takes place in a small town. Basically, there's like some kids that go missing. Our main character is an adventurous little girl that needs to figure out why. Personally, I think it was a bit too simple for me, but if it sounds like something that you would like, or if you like middle grade, I don't think there's anything wrong with this book. It was just not my thing. And those are all the fall books that I was going to talk about today. Comment down below a book or several books that give you fall vibes, or have I said fall vibes like a million times in this video? Books that remind you of fall or are great to read during fall. Comment those down below. I hope you guys enjoyed this video and that you're having a great, amazing fall and you enjoy it to the fullest.